It's time for the Kurtiss Riggs Show. Kurtiss Riggs, the head coach of the 10-time champions of the Indoor Football League, the Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Riggs Show being brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute. It's the Kurtiss Riggs Show on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio KWSN. Here's your host for the Kurtiss Riggs Show, the Silver Fox, Rich Rosti.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. It is playoff time. The Sioux Falls Storm qualified for the playoffs for the Indoor Football League by virtue of defeating the Iowa Barnstormers down in Des Moines, Iowa this past weekend by a score of 45-24. So the Sioux Falls Storm will be hosting the first round of the playoffs coming up this Saturday, and they're going to be playing the Iowa Barnstormers. And the reason that they're going to be playing the Iowa Barnstormers again is because the third team that was in the horse race for the United Conference Championship was the Wichita Falls Nighthawks, and they were defeated, you could even say upset, by the Nebraska Danger 59-44. So that eliminates them from the playoffs. So the Sioux Falls Storm will be hosting this Saturday the Iowa Barnstormers for the United Conference Championship game, and the winner of that ball game will host the United Bowl against either the Nebraska Danger or the Arizona Rattlers, and they're going to be playing Saturday also. We'll be talking about all that stuff with head coach Kurtiss Riggs as we continue with the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And then coming up about 6:55, J.J. Hardigan and Canaries baseball starts. So we'll have a little bit abbreviated show, but we'll be talking to the head coach about the league, about the game, a preview of the Barnstormers coming to town. We'll also be talking to the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, Todd Tryon. So all of that coming up on the Kurtiss Riggs Show, proudly presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. So coming up next is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, and you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on Kellen. All right, check that at 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio KWSN.
The Sheridan Sioux Falls is...
Think rugged. When you think tough. When you think big. Think of the best transportation solutions mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer Trucks. We keep you moving.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And they deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls. Just stop by and check out Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. See what fresh really is, and their subs are just breader. And that's exactly what they wanted me to say. Their subs are just breader. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Well, Coach, you know, there's been some interesting weekends with games around the Indoor Football League, but I think last weekend was one to match any other weekend that we possibly had as far as interesting ball games. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, right from the first games Friday night to the end on Saturday night.
Arizona Rattlers wound up going to overtime against Colorado Crush. So the Rattlers, a 12-win ball club, taking on Colorado, who's only had 3 wins this season. That takes them to overtime, even though that Arizona has qualified for the playoffs. Looking at that ball game, did they cut back on their personnel or not play some people, or were they playing at full strength against Colorado?
What I saw, I watched just a little bit. I think they were playing their personnel. In fact, they had their quarterback back from the beginning of the season, and they were rotating the 2 quarterbacks. You know, I thought both looked efficient. But, you know, Colorado's a tough place to play. I mean, they're taking down a lot of really good teams there. And, you know, it just doesn't surprise you when you see that they had a close game at their place.
Well, then there's another game. Salt Lake Screaming Eagles on Friday night took on and hosted the Spokane Empire. And Salt Lake came away with a win 45-42, and that eliminated Spokane from the playoffs. And Spokane has really had kind of a downward spiral, winding up 8-8 on the season. Tell us about Spokane.
Well, they came to our place 7-2, and then they won one game after that, Rich. They just they never seemed to get back on track, and I think the problems became a lot bigger for Coach Shackelford and Spokane than just poor play on the field. It started, you could see how it can just corrode and tear a team apart, and you started to see that on the field. Not just poor play, but how they handled it, their body language, players attacking players, and it was something that just kind of tore them down, and they were never able to really recover from it.
So Spokane is out of the playoffs. So Nebraska, by virtue of the loss Friday night by Spokane, Saturday night they're going to be taking on Wichita Falls, and Nebraska has no reason to play any harder because they're in the playoffs. However, they come up with a huge win as they defeat the Wichita Falls Nighthawks 59-44. And you got to take your hat off to Nebraska and Kurtiss Chin, the coach out there. They didn't hold back anything, and they went after the game and got it.
As I talked to the Iowa coach before our game about that very situation, and he had talked to the staff of Nebraska, and he brought up a really good point that, if they go in with the mentality of we're in the playoffs, let's not get anyone hurt, then you go in with your new quarterback being 1-4, because Drew had, he had not won. He'd won one game, and that was that miracle kick against Cedar Rapids. And so you want to try to get, one, a win, two, some confidence going into the playoffs. You want to have everyone on the same page clicking. And so I think that's the approach Coach Chin took, and it paid off huge because, now they're rolling into Arizona thinking, hey, we're really good. We can win this game, and we could win it all.
The thing is, Nebraska 9-7 now, and they took care of and defeated a ball club that had 12 wins in Wichita Falls. So, like you said, they're going to be going into Arizona with confidence running very high, and that ball game is going to be 8 o'clock Central Time on Saturday in Phoenix, Arizona, as they take on the Arizona Rattlers. And that's going to be a
Rick, I think you saw that coming with Wichita Falls, though. They barely win at Green Bay. They barely win against Colorado at home. It seemed like it was all the makings, to go to Nebraska playing against what I think is a much better team than Green Bay. And you know what? They struggled against Cedar Rapids, too.
Yes, they did.
And I think Nebraska is the best team out of all those teams. And so you just felt like they were a team that could definitely beat Wichita Falls. And you just kind of thought that maybe after Spokane lost, though, that Wichita Falls would come away with a win. Maybe it'd be close. But Nebraska, they really got after them.
59-44 was the final there. Okay, Coach. What's your feeling about Arizona and Wichita Falls in the intense conference championship game?
Arizona and Nebraska?
Yeah, Arizona and Nebraska, yes.
Yeah. Arizona is very physical. And, Rich, they're the team, when they take the field, they really pass the eyeball test. You see their guys. I thought there was two teams I felt this year, Arizona and Wichita Falls. When they took the field, you're like, wow, these are some these are what rosters should look like, even for NFL teams. And I think Arizona definitely took that build. But I think they're going against a team where, Drew is playing about as good a football as anyone in the league right now, Drew Powell. I think the team's really rallied behind him. Will they have other guys that can make enough plays, though? Because Arizona is going to have their 250-pound running back, probably their other tailback, and they're just going to hammer away at Nebraska. So who can, make the most big plays and who can take care of the ball?
Well, Coach, fantastic stuff about going around the league. When we come back, you and I are going to be talking about the game down in Iowa at Des Moines, where the Sioux Falls Storm was victorious over the Barnstormers 45-24. So, Coach, stay tuned. We'll be right back with you. You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is, and they deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls. We'll be back. This is Kurtiss Riggs Show on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
Your house is not only a home for your...
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And this segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge on East 10th Street in Sioux Falls. And they have been the viewing party host all season long. We thank them so very much because there's been some great crowds out there and fans have been taken care of so very well by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge. Also, Budweiser and Beal Distributing for the specials that they have had out there all season long. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, we go down to Iowa to take on the Barnstormers, and we come away with a win. And one of the things that I told you on the bus, and I felt this way at the end of the game, that was a very satisfying win to me. And I don't know why, but it just felt like that was the right word. It was a satisfying win. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right on with that one, Rich. I think it's satisfying in the means that, I mean, a lot of people thought this was the end. A lot of people, thought this was one of the worst seasons we've had in a while, and that it was time for the Storm not to be in the playoffs. And I think it was rewarding for the guys to be able to walk off the field, finishing the way we did. And you know what? Here we sit with the best record in the league again, and having a chance to host throughout.
And that's exactly what, when you meet with your team at the beginning of the season, that first meeting, this is exactly the position that you wanted to have them in at this point in the season, isn't it?
Well, so, when we set goals, I mean, the one goal we have is to win a title, and then we talk about what do we need to do to make that happen. And the first thing we say is, let's secure home field. If we get home field, then our odds dramatically go up, we feel. And you just kind of pick and choose the steps of what you need to do to accomplish your goal. But really the one goal that we make is to win a title again, and we put ourselves in position to do that.
After the end of the first half down in Iowa, Storm was trailing in that contest 21-17. And Iowa had won the toss. They elected to take a knee, knowing that they're going to be having the ball to start the second half. And then the Sioux Falls Storm was on defense in the first series, and then this happened. So now the Barnstormers have third down and 3 at their own 20-yard line. Trips to left side, 2 in motion, left slot. Here's the blitz by the Sioux Falls Storm. Partridge eludes that. No, they're going to sack him. He gets sacked way back inside the 15-yard line. Claude Davis and Tyler Knight get in there along with Khalif Mitchell. Another sack for the Sioux Falls Storm. But Claude Davis led the charge that time. It's going to bring up 4th down and a long 10 yards. And, Coach, looking back in that game, that was a turning point in the contest, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, I thought we did a good job of continually pressing to get after Partridge, and eventually it paid off.
Here's our next highlight. Clock rolls, 11.5 to play, third quarter. 2 in motion, right slot, option play, pitch out close there to Robbie Rouse. Cuts in between 2 blockers, wide open into the end zone. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm. Great blocks on the outside. It opened up a perfect hole. Touchdown, Robbie Rouse, the Mighty Mouse. And that was in the next series, right after that 4th down. That was a field goal that was no good for the Barnstormers after that sack. But coming right back and getting the touchdown, that gave the Storm their first lead of the contest, 24-21.
It was a big play. Lorenzo took a big hit on that play. You don't feel it near as much, though, when you you end up getting a touchdown out of it. But you just felt you really felt the momentum when we got the 3 and out and we took the ball down and scored, and it just seemed like we really put the pedal to the metal, you could say, and never let up from that point on.
In the second half, you held the Iowa Barnstormers to 3 points. Shut them out in the fourth quarter. Your defense only allowed 3 points that entire second half.
Yeah, the performance between the two elements that have carried us throughout the season from the first half to the second half was just night and day. I think, Lorenzo's performance offensively and the defense's performance from first half to second half it was just 1,000% different. And for us to be successful, those two elements need to play at their top level.
Yeah, you probably kind of noticed I didn't have any highlights from that first half.
Yeah. I mean, it was a struggle, Rich. And the problem was offensively, our line was playing outstanding. It's just Zoe was rushing things and wasn't very settled. And second half, he came out and played really good football. But our offensive line played spectacular. I mean, he had a clean pocket just about all night. They really did a nice job protecting him. Iowa was very geared up to stop the run, so it was going to be tough to run. We had to throw the ball some, and they did a great job protecting and allowing him to be able to do that. Yeah,
you only had 3 yards of rushing that first half. You wound up with 58 for the night.
Yeah, we only ran 35 plays total offensively, so there wasn't many plays.
Well, prior to this next highlight, the Storm defense had held a goal line stand, and in the next series, this happened.
Storm leading by 7, 31-24. Storm have a second down and 8 from the Barnstormer 19. Lorenzo Brown's going to be on a quarterback drill. Weaves his way, 20, 15, 10, 5. Veers for the corner. Yes, he gets in. Touchdown, 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 Lorenzo Brown. Holy help me, Hannah, as Lorenzo Brown carries it in from 19 yards.
One of the things that was a great run, but one of the things I also wanted to mention as far as the Storm was concerned, it was great to see all those fans down in Des Moines, wasn't it, Coach?
It reminded me of the days that we had to travel to Omaha and Sioux City. I mean, it was great to be able to know when you're going back to your bench, you're going back to an entire section of fans that are supporting and rooting for the team and picking them up when there were some struggles in the first half.
And it was great that they put them right there behind your bench, and it was great to see all those fans. Here's our last highlight. The Storm was up by 14, but Iowa was driving, and they could have pulled to within 7 if they had gotten a touchdown, but then this happened.
And the Barnstormers definitely not going anywhere right now. As far as going away from this game, they're coming right back to the Sioux Falls Storm, who lead by 14, 38-24. So now after the first down, it's going to be first down and goal at the 7. Partridge fires to the right side, intercepted, and this is going to be a pick 6 for the Sioux Falls Storm as he takes it all the way down. Richard Smith on the interception returns it 45 yards. A pick 6 for Richard Smith. Oh my, oh my.
Actually, he was credited for 49 yards on that interception return for a touchdown, but Richard Smith and your defense came up big time again, and that sealed the deal. That wound up being the final score in the contest, the Sioux Falls Storm winning 45-24.
Yeah, it was a big play. Those are the plays why we went after Richard. We just felt like he's a ball-hawking defensive back. He's a guy that will take chances. He'll make breaks on the ball. And he's very good at baiting quarterbacks and then taking advantage of those situations.
Coach, you come away with the win down there. And we're going to be talking about the Iowa Barnstormers in our final segment together as far as a scouting report and talk about things like that. But you get the win down there. You take care of business on the road. And when you had a chance to visit with your team, what were some of the points that you brought out to them about that win and about the week coming up?
Well, first thing, we talked about kind of what you said, Rich, about how satisfying of a win it was. How we came together in that second half and played really good football, but how the season in general was one of many question marks. And at many times, it was just like this game where we didn't play well at times, but we found ways to overcome. But when we put it together, we're a really good team. And can we keep this momentum going into the playoffs of that second half and continue to play at that level? And that's what I really challenged the guys. That's what we need to do now.
Well, Coach, we'll talk about it in more detail as far as the Iowa Barnstormers. Like I said in our final segment, congratulations, a big win, making the playoffs again every year except for 2009. Since 2002, the Sioux Falls Storm have made the playoffs. Congratulations, Coach, on that outstanding run, but the season's not over. We still have a little bit of work to do.
We do. Thank you, though, Rich.
Very good. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. When we come back, we'll be talking to the Storm owner, Todd Tryon. And you're listening to this segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge. Thank you to them for being the hosts for the away game viewing party, and also for Budweiser and Beal Distributing. We'll be back right after this.
If you haven't been to Eastway
Possibility. From starting a family to starting a business. Everywhere there's possibility, there's Premier. Believe in possibility. First Premier Bank.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. And after the interview, we'll be taking your third call at 336-1234. Free tickets for the game coming up on Saturday, the United Conference Championship game. That game starts at 5 o'clock. You get 4 free tickets if you're the third caller after we go to break. And you can listen to that ball game on Kello, AM 1320 and FM 107.9. He is the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, Todd Tryon. Todd, thanks for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show today.
Well, you bet, Rich. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, I can hear you perfectly. You know,
appreciate you asking me to be on here tonight.
Well, I tell you, how long have you been the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm?
This will be year number 8.
Oh, my goodness. Really?
It is, I know. Time goes, don't it?
It's amazing how many years have passed. And I want to ask you this question. How has the new Denny Sanford Premier Center changed the way the Storm is operated, game day, ticket-wise, all of those different factors? What has that facility meant to the Sioux Falls Storm?
You know, it's been a lot of things, but the biggest thing I feel is just, you know, the fan experience, from the quality of the seats to the quality of the music. I mean, the sound system, just, you know, to the field, to, you know, there's everything from A to Z. You're able to do it in better quality, which at the end of the day, you're able to put a better product on the field.
Plus, there is so many more fans. You know, do you have any idea what the Storm is averaging this year for attendance?
You know, I know our ticket count's at about 6,850, give or take a little bit. As far as drop count, they've got a new gal there who seems to be a little behind and getting some settlement sheets out. So I don't know what the exact drop count is, but you know, when you look at the old arena and 4,800 was full capacity.
Yeah.
You know, I got to believe we average, you know, more than 4,800 as far as butts in the seats, you know, per game.
And that's huge that we have that kind of turnout. And now with the playoffs coming up this Saturday, tickets to the general public go on sale, I believe, tomorrow, don't they?
You know, general public is Thursday.
Thursday.
We give the season ticket holders and sponsors 3 days here to get their tickets renewed. And then, you know, the remaining seats go open to general public come Thursday.
One of the things I also wanted to congratulate you on is what you have done along with Jim Loria as far as giving back to the community. We had Jim on last week, and we talked about, you know, you're pushing over $400,000 going back into the community just with the things that Jim has done, much less all of the other things within the Storm family. But, you know, congratulations and thank you so much for what you're doing to give back to the community, Todd.
You know, Rich, all credit goes to Jim Loria. I mean, outside of the things that, you know, we do through our kids' organizations and things like that, you know, Jim is 100% responsible, you know, for every game. He's got a great cause that they're raising money for. And, there is so much work behind the scenes that he goes through, and Jim has been outstanding. He's an outstanding addition for our program, and we continue to see it every single game as they sit there and raise money. So Jim gets 100% of the credit when it comes to some of those off-the-field things.
Talking to Storm owner Todd Tryon. Todd, the Storm are in the playoffs again. How much does that mean to you personally that your ball club continues to function and be successful at the high level that it is?
Well, Rich, I think, as a man, you always want to be involved with the right things and the right people. And, the thing that, I'm so proud of is just the group that, we've continued to put together. And, Coach Riggs is leading that cause as far as, the type of players he recruits and the coaches that he surrounds himself with ultimately produces, the on-the-field result. And so, it's you always want to be associated with the best. And, if I'm good at one thing, it's the ability to surround myself with people that are better than me. And, that's what I did, when it came to the coaching staff.
Well, one of the things, as part of the success of the Sioux Falls Storm, all of the things that are going together, but the fans and the fan base that you have and have built upon during the 8 years that you have been owner, we would not be here without the fans, and the Storm has tremendous fan support.
I think we saw that at the Barnes Farmers this last weekend as we had over 100 tickets purchased, and we took a fan bus down there, and anytime you're able to travel 4+ hours and bring that many fans, it just shows the culture that we're all a part of. And it is so fun to be involved in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and just how they do get behind not only our product, but a lot of the other products out there. There's a reason why they rate Sioux Falls at the top in the United States as far as your semi-professional sports.
And we're talking to Storm owner Todd Tryon. The Indoor Football League has had some interesting things happen this year with the franchise and the situations out there in Salt Lake City and things like that. What's the health of the league in your opinion, and what's the future for the Indoor Football League in your opinion?
Well, I think you're seeing the health of the league as far as the competitiveness on the field. We set a standard many years ago, and there's a lot of teams that just didn't want to raise their level of play, so they went to other leagues and folded up shop and did other things. And I think anytime you see the quality of play and some of the parity that's going on, that usually dictates the strength of the league, not necessarily the amount of teams involved. Mm-hmm. Because there's other leagues out there who've got more teams, but their quality doesn't even begin to touch the quality of our play. And so, this time of year, it's always a soap opera on, who's coming in and who's going out and what's going on, but at the end of the day, I think you take a full look of our league this year, and we had a lot of competitive games, and, there's competitive teams on both sides, and, it's made for a fun year.
Well, one thing about it, Arizona certainly has raised up the average attendance because they have brought tons of fans into their ball games from the figures that I have seen, and that really has boosted it. How's attendance been across the board, though, for the league?
It's kind of a skewed number because you always go off of tickets distributed, never butts in the seats.
Okay.
And as an organization, the only thing we can really do is see how many tickets we can get out there and do it the right way. And, what shows up, shows up. And, it looks like in Arizona they do a great job of distributing tickets. As far as how many people actually show up, I mean, that's it's an unknown number. But I think you see that across a lot of teams is, there's a lot of tickets distributed, and some games have great attendance. And the last weekend, Des Moines, I thought they had great attendance. That was a great game, a great atmosphere, and it was fun to watch us finally play at the level we're capable of. And I think we're building momentum at the right time.
And according to the stat sheet, they had 8,300 and some people at that ball game down in Des Moines. Todd, if there was one thing that you would like to see happen with the league itself, what are some of the golden ideas that you would like to see incorporated to build this league and have it continue to become the premier indoor football league in the country?
Well, the veteran rule still frustrates me a little bit. I mean,
Okay.
I feel this year it's affected us more than ever. I feel the veteran rule is affecting attendance. I feel like some of these teams that had better attendance in the past, it was because, the fan was able to build relationships with the players because they're coming back year after year. And so I still question the veteran rule, but, once again, I was just one vote. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of the 16-game season. I'm a fan of the 14-game season. I'd like to see our playoffs and our championship game done by the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. And if once again, I'm just one vote when it comes to that. But, it's something that I continue to push and would like to see happen at some point. But, we've got a lot of sharp owners who've been doing this a long time. And, I feel that there's just a few tweaks we need to continue to make. And I definitely think we're on the right track.
Well, I love having it at 5 o'clock for the playoff games. I'd love to see that all season long. I think it would really help as far as families and kids.
Rich, I agree. The struggle we run with that is, about the first 3-4 games in the season, you're playing on Friday or a Sunday or not necessarily Saturday night. And so you always like to try to stick to a consistent time throughout the year. Yeah. And I'm with you. When the game is over and you're able to get outside, you still got a little sunlight. I feel like it didn't take up. It just doesn't feel as late. And so we're excited to have a 5:05 kickoff this weekend. We're excited for the crowd we're going to have, and we're so excited to be the number 1 seed because that means the championship is going to run through Sioux Falls.
Well, Todd, great having you on the show. Always great stuff that you bring to the broadcast, but I thank you for what you do as the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm and what you do in the community, all of those things. A great reflection for this city and for the Sioux Falls Storm in this entire league and country. Thank you so very much, Todd Tryon.
Greatly appreciate you, Rich. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you very much. Todd Tryon, the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, and we'll take your third caller, 336-1230. 4 free tickets. Coming up next, we'll be talking about the playoffs coming up on Saturday. You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
No matter what you do, getting the job done is what it's all about. And that's where Boyer Trucks and Western Star come in. For 50 years, Western Star has been in the lead when it comes to legendary reliability and toughness. Here in Sioux Falls at 2101 East Benson Road, with extended parts and service hours, Boyer Trucks has been keeping you moving since 1996. Look to Boyer Trucks for diesel engine parts and service for all makes, including Cat, Detroit Diesel, Cummins, and Ford. Boyer Trucks services all Ford vehicles, from the Focus to the mighty F-750. Boyer Trucks, we keep you moving.
Hey there. Let's take a moment and see what those legs can do. Don't just sit there. Stand up. Take a little stroll around the room. Go ahead. We'll wait. Now think about the remarkable network of bone tissue and joints that just made that ordinary walk an extraordinary occurrence. At Orthopedic Institute, orthopedic medicine is all we do. So if you had trouble with any part of that little exercise, we're here to help. Orthopedic Institute. We're the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
Do you know what insurance agency is #1 with Sioux Falls Storm fans? It's the Insurance Connection and Auto Owners Insurance.
If you like to bowl, roll on into Eastway Bowl. Hey, wait a minute. Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full of fun entertainment center. There's many things to do. Games, and more games, plus food. Great food. Come into our full-service sports bar and grill where you'll find terrific drinks with our popular late-night specials. Watch all your favorite sporting events at Eastway. Visit our website to make your bowling reservations and find out more about the full fun experience. Eastway Bowl and Entertainment Center, where there's something for everyone.
To the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
Oh, did the telephone lines light up? Oh, my. This is the Wingstop ticket giveaway. We had so many calls, and when we go to break, we'll take your third caller again, 4 more free tickets. And if you don't hear me mention it at the end of the show when we go off the air, we'll take another call for 4 free tickets, all courtesy of Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience for the United Conference Championship game. That game starts at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and will be on our sister station, KRShow AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Former Storm kicker Adam Hicks and I will have the call for you in that United Conference Championship game. As the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, Todd Tryon, talked about, tickets go on sale for the general public starting Thursday. Get your tickets. Come out to this one. This one is going to be a dandy. We're going to be hearing from the coach coming up about the Iowa Barnstorm and have to play them back-to-back? What did they learn about the Sioux Falls Storm? What did the Storm learn about the Barnstormers? We'll find out next when we talk to the head coach, Kurtiss Riggs. But we'll take your third caller, 336-1230. 4 free tickets, courtesy of Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. We'll be back right after this.
If you haven't been to Eastway Sports Lab...
Success in business is about growing your bottom line. Now, there are 2 ways you can do this: increase revenue and decrease spending. This is where we come in. At A&B Business Solutions, our managed print services will optimize your print environment, reducing your total printing costs while improving workflow. Managed print services will impact your bottom line. MPS, it's just another solution from A&B, the company that helps you solve, simplify, and...
You're listening to The Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to The Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. I tell you what, just check it out. 917 South Cliff Avenue, sliced fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, the Barnstormers, 2 weeks in a row. We've gone through this before with other teams during the course of the regular season, but this is different. This is the playoffs. This is definitely win or go home, and so it's entirely different. Now, the Barnstormers coming in this weekend, what did you learn about Iowa that you didn't know before the Storm played them last Saturday?
I think it was probably more defensively than offensively. They played more physical than what I expected. When we watched on film, we just didn't see where they were a downhill attacking style defense, and they showed that in the game against us, especially in the first half.
Now, when you look at a team like this, and you've seen things like this, are your keys to the game for this one going to be different than the keys to the game last Saturday?
Yeah, they will. I mean, there will be some things that'll be similar, but a lot of it will be different. I mean, it's a new week. You look at them as a new opponent. How do you break down this one? Just like you break down every other week.
What motivates a team more? Confidence in winning or fear of losing?
I think if you play for the fear of losing, then a lot of times it'll eat you up.
Okay.
And that, I think that's been something that over the years we've seen that with the Storm. When we get on these winning streaks, you start to play not to lose rather than playing to win, and you just don't play to your ability. I mean, you play scared, you play afraid that you'll make a mistake, and that mistake could cost you, whereas when you play with confidence, you might make a mistake, but you'll overcome that mistake.
I think that's one of the things that I saw in the second half of that ball game was a building crescendo of confidence in your ball club in that second half. Well, what did you see?
Yeah, and I think it started with what's been the catalyst for us all season is our defense. Our defense goes out, and when they play with confidence, they're really good. But when they sit back and are passive, it affects everything on our team. I mean, we lack emotion, and it carries over, I think, to the offense, to our special teams. But when those guys are energized, I mean, it's contagious, and they're the ones that really fuel all our success.
What do you think Iowa learned about the Storm that they didn't know prior to the ball game last Saturday?
Well, I think they feel like, looking at the film, that they had plays that could have made opportunities that they could have taken advantage of. I think they feel like they had some things they were really good at, but there's some things they probably need to fix. I think they'll do a lot of the same things because they did some things well, but some of the mistakes that you saw them make, I think those are the things they're going to address. But overall, I think scheme-wise, they'll be very similar.
Partridge showed himself to be, a gutsy quarterback. He's a big kid, not afraid to take a hit, but those hits can take a toll during the course of a game, can't they?
They can, yeah, on anyone they're going to. I think you have to be cautious when you try to run someone that much. And, some of these guys that are bigger quarterbacks, like Partridge and Drew Powell in Nebraska, when they're running the ball, eventually guys are going to hit them, and they're going to hit them hard, and And it's not just the hits, it's the hitting the ground, people landing on you, all of it. It just wears you down. And then you start to become a little bit slower with your reads, a little bit slower with your release, and it affects everything.
Okay, Coach, as far as this ball game coming up on Saturday, what are the keys that you feel it's going to take for the Storm to be successful and get a win in this conference championship game?
Well, I think number one, and really the biggest thing for us, Rich, is emotion. I think this game this last week really showed we have got to play with emotion. It can't be, phony emotion either. That we need it, because we really do. You've got to go out there and know that we're playing for everything now, and show it. Don't be afraid to show it. Don't just go through the motions. Play, have fun, play with excitement, play with energy, and it'll be contagious for the players and the crowd.
Well, Coach, I couldn't have said it better. Fantastic. We'll talk to you part of the game on Saturday.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. And this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, 917 South Cliff Avenue in Sioux Falls. Sliced fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is. Coming up next, we'll have our final segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Final ticket giveaway will be after our next break. Thank you. We'll be back right after this.
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today. Routine services can save you money in the long run. Call Waterbury to schedule yours today.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And this is our final segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this is brought to you by Boyer Trucks, celebrating our 90th year. Sales, parts, service, and we keep you going. That's Boyer Trucks. Coming up on Saturday, Sioux Falls Storm United Conference Championship game against the Iowa Barnstormers. 4 free tickets after we go off the air, courtesy of Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. Want to thank the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, all of the great information that he brought to the broadcast. Also, Todd Tryon. Just always great stuff with the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm. Kurtiss Riggs Show has been brought to you by the official Storm sports medicine providers, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official care team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up in just a couple minutes will be J.J. Hardigan and Canaries Baseball. Get your tickets starting Thursday, open to the public. Get your tickets for the United Conference Championship game, and that's going to be starting at 5 o'clock on Saturday. The pregame show will be starting at 4:45, and you can hear that on our sister station, KLO AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Thank you to John Michaels, our studio producer and engineer, and also all of you, our listening audience, for making us a part of your day. And you've been listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Have a great evening. J.J. Hardigan and Canaries Baseball coming right up.
Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1, K251BH Sioux Falls. This is KWSN Sioux Falls.
This is the Canaries pregame show presented by the Orthopedic Institute. The Orthopedic Institute is proud to be the official sports medicine provider of the Sioux Falls Canaries. Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. It's time to dig in and take our first look at the latest news and notes from around the American Association and a preview of tonight's action. With the pregame report, here's the voice of the Canaries, J.J. Hardigan.
And a good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Birdcage as we get set for this opening game of this now week-long homestand at Sioux Falls Stadium. The Birds returning home after a 3-game sweep of the Cleburne Railroaders over the weekend down in the heart of Texas. And the Birds now playing their best baseball of this season all of last season and maybe their best baseball in the last 2 years. The Birds are 8-2 in their last 10 ball games and have won 3 straight series, reeling off their first series win and series sweep of the 2017 season. The Birds are hoping today now that they can maybe continue that trend, albeit against a very difficult North Division opponent tonight in the St. Paul Saints. Looking at those North Division standings here quickly.